Welcome to the JAMODI podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is JAMODI, just a matter of doing it. Coaches, the JAMODI podcast is powered by Biology. What's your BSA score? The Biology Skills Assessment is the only verified skills metric endorsed by the NAIA, NJCAA, and a growing number of NCAA coaches to discover and develop the best talent for your team. This 4-minute, 40-shot test can be taken free today on the Biology mobile app. Elevate your game. Confidence. Confidence is a word, especially with high school players and parents, that gets thrown around quite a bit. So how do you teach shooting confidence with players?
Yeah, to me, there's two sides to it. I literally did like a mini clinic for an AAU group yesterday, and we had the same conversation because a kid asked it. It was, that's right in the forefront of every kid's mind, whether they want to admit it or not, right? That's always there. And I approach it from two sides, right? You approach it from the physical side, right? From you're only going to ever, reap the rewards of what you're doing if you're actually putting in the time, right? How deliberate is your practice? How much time are you spending actually paying attention to where it is you need to get better, right? And when we take care of that, then we shift to the mental side. And in all reality, in a perfect world, we would spend almost just as much time up here as we spend with everything else. But you see it all the time. You see these guys that have incredible gifts and physical talents, but they break down up top and probably aren't doing enough work when it comes to that. I'm a big nerd in a way that any player that I've ever worked with will tell you I'm throwing books at them. I'm talking to them about visualization type things. But one of my favorite things I've ever read was a quote, and I believe it was by Neville Goddard. I'm not sure, but he said, before you can do something, you must first be something, right? And you have to take on, I tell my players, you have to take on this persona of you are a shooter. You are going to make shots. Now, that doesn't mean you're not going to go through lulls. Like, that's going to happen 100%. But who are you at your core, right? Who are you when you're just walking around? You have to see yourself as that shooter. You have to see yourself as that guy that knocks down shots. You have to embody that before it even happens for you. And the more you can put that in your mind, right, the easier things are going to start to come to you in terms of a confidence perspective. And I just think it goes so far beyond basketball.
Yeah.
For me, I always tell, I'm such a good, I never used to think that way. And then my whole life changed when I started thinking that way. I started seeing myself as a teacher. I was like, I'm a teacher. And then people were like, well, who are you teaching? I was like, well, nobody yet, but I'm learning. And I know I'm going to but it's so powerful. The mind is so powerful that if we're not working on it, if we're not feeding it information, if we're not learning, unlearning, then it's going to be really, really difficult to ever, develop that confidence that we need. So it's that balance of the physical side and then the mental side.
Oh, that's awesome. And I think you can't, as a player, you can't underestimate how connected those two are.
Yeah.
Because the physical side, or the preparation, actually doing the work, putting in the time, like, you can't look in the mirror and lie to yourself.
Yeah.
To a point. If you once you've done the work, then that mental side drives home. Because I've done that, I am this.
Yes.
But you can't say, I tell players all the time, I've never done flying lessons. I've never sat time in a simulator. I don't have any flight time. If I was to go onto a plane, go up to the cockpit, knock on the door, open up and say, listen, I got this. Go ahead, have a seat, have some peanuts. I'll take it the rest of the way. I said, even though I'm confident, I've told myself I can do this, we will die. Right. But I feel like a lot of some shooters, that is their problem. They're confident, but without really the right. To be that. But then I think the more common side is what you and I see is kids have put in the time, but now they're just, it's between their ears.
Yeah. I went to a PGC clinic one time. They brought me out to go to a PGC clinic to see their shooting clinic. And one of my favorite things that they said during that clinic was they said NATO, not attached
to outcome. Oh yeah.
And it was such a simple but powerful thing. And they said it, and I'm like watching the kids in the room, and I feel like they looked at it like, okay, you know what I mean? Like they're kids, right? But I was sitting there, I was like, that's such a, because I'm always preaching it. But the way that they defined it was so simple, easy to remember. That was just, yeah.
Talk about a mind shift though, right there.
Yeah.
The moment that it leaves your fingertips, it's over. You can't change the outcome. And the only thing that you can do now is start preparing for what's next, what you can't control. But right. I mean, even as a player, that was hard for me to, but like you nailed it though. This talking about shooting and all those things, these are life lessons.
Yeah. It's all
that will carry on.
Yeah. I think it just goes, man, I get to work with so many kids, and I feel so blessed to be able to do it. And I was talking to a guy the other day, and I was like, man, if what I do only is confined to the basketball court with these young men that I oftentimes get a chance to come across at a really cool stage of their life, then I'm selling those kids short. And so everything I do, and I think they would tell you too, maybe I'm annoying with it, but I'm always trying to get them to see the bigger picture of where they're going in life, and how these small disciplines now are going to carry over, and they're going to be so far ahead of their peers as they start to get older, because they're reading 10 books this summer, or they're doing all these things that the average person, when they become adults, don't do. And if they can start to make that a habit, I mean, sky's the limit in terms of what they're going to be able to accomplish down the line.
Yeah. How many adults lose their growth mindset when they leave school or when they get established in a certain job or field? Yeah. That'd be interesting to kind of see.
Yeah, one of my favorite quotes, I don't want to say it, but they said, "Don't let school get in the way of your education." Is one of my favorite quotes of all time, because of course school serves its purpose and everything, but when it ends, or even when you're in it, there's other things that you can continuously educate yourself on to make you better at what you want to do, or you can go a million different ways with that. But
the great philosopher Phil Jackson, right? He said there's more to life than basketball, but there's more to basketball than basketball. And I can't imagine a greater way to teach these lessons that will stick than also with something that happens to be the most fun part of basketball, which is shooting.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
What do you think, if you had a guess, what's the percentage? I have an idea in my head. There's no facts behind it. It's just what I feel. The percentage of people that struggle with form to the mental side. Let's just say, let's get away from, such horrific or huge issues that they are never going to be able to replicate that over the long haul. But a kid has decent form, but or in the mental side, what's holding them back? What do you think that percentage is?
I guess it would skew towards the mental side. I think, you know what I mean? I think you're probably looking at, I don't know the number. I'll say 60%. We'll say 60%.
Okay.
I'll say that route.
I go 90-10.
Yeah.
I think I just think of, at Faith, I've been blessed to be here 9 years. And we just spend a lot of time on shooting and their shots and their mentality and how great shooters train. And I've seen guys with clean form that I'm watching them. I'm like, okay, I know they put in the time because they're in front of me and we do these things, but the ball really doesn't seem to know where it's going. Or there's no consistency, but I'm filming them slow. I'm looking from the side. I'm watching them react. And then at the end of the day, there has to be this belief involved. And I that's where I just go with this 90-10. I think it's 10% form. Once you get past the horrible things, and they get the few of those basics down, man, all up there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just my thought.
Sure. Yeah, I like it. That's a great backup to the percentages. I had zero thought put into my my percentages.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the JAMODI podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.